Even worse, what must Bella, age 4, and Celeste, age 3, must have experienced or thought as their father, the one man on this planet who was supposed to nurture and protect them, was snuffing out their lives.
Yeah.
They both died from smothering. Let me say that again. The man seated to my right smothered his daughters. Why? Imagine the horror in Bella's mind as her father took her last breaths away. Your Honor, understand very clearly, Bella fought back for her life. The frenulum, the connective tissue between her upper lip and her gum, had a centimeter and a half laceration. She bit her tongue multiple times before she died. She fought back for her life as her father smothered her.
Honestly, just truly shows how disgusting of a human being Chris Watts is. This poor child, 3 and 4 years old. Chris Watts was a man. He's been working out. He's been getting in shape. They have no chance of beating his strength. Imagine what went through their heads before they took their last breath. I don't get it. Those poor children, honestly. I don't see the reason of having to smother the children. I don't obviously see the reason of having to smother the wife either, but sure, he could have strangled Shanann because he felt trapped in their relationship. But why the kids? Why be so heartless to your own flesh and blood? He broke their bones to fit them into that oil tank. He dumped them away like trash. Is there any humanity left in this guy? I don't think so. He's a sorry excuse for a human being and a waste of a life. How could you look at your own 2 children and smother them while they struggled and cried out and said, "Daddy, why are you doing this?" Because I know Bella or Cece, I think it was Bella, said, "Daddy, why?" or "Daddy, no." How could you go forward with it? That's just how sickening. I don't even want to call him a man, but like how sickening this monster is.
Celeste had no such injuries. In fact, she had no external injuries at all. But according to the medical examiner, she was smothered nonetheless.
Look at that. I'm pretty sure he just said, "You okay?" to Chris. Watch him.
Was smothered nonetheless. But according to the medical examiner...
Look at him.
But according to the medical examiner, she was smothered nonetheless.
Chris nods his head.
She was smothered
You
nonetheless.
okay? Shakes his head. Why would you care? Why would you care?
The defendant then methodically and calmly loaded their bodies into his work truck, not in a hasty or disorganized way. He was seen from the neighbor's doorbell camera backing his truck into the driveway, going back and forth into the house and back out to the truck 3 different times, 1 time for each of their bodies. He then drove them away from their family home 1 final time, intent on hiding any evidence of the crimes that he had just committed.
I thought he murdered the girls at his work spot, didn't he? I was pretty sure I heard that he murdered the kids at the work spot. Let me know if I'm wrong.
In one final sign of callousness for his wife, his daughters, and their unborn son, and their remains, he drove them to a location that he thought no one would ever find them, to one of the oil tank batteries with which he was so familiar. He knew this was safe. He had texted a coworker the night before saying, "I'll head out to that site. I'll take care of it." He had carefully ensured that he would be alone in the middle of the plains to secrete away the remains of his family in a place that he hoped they would never be found. In one final measure of disrespect for the family he once had, he ensured that they would not be together, even in death, or so he thought. He disposed of them in different locations.
Mm-hmm.
He buried Shanann and Nico in a shallow grave away from the oil tanks. Bella and Celeste were thrown away in the oil tanks at this facility. Different tanks, so these little girls wouldn't be together in death. Imagine this, Your Honor. This defendant took those little girls and put them through a hatch at the top of an oil tank, 8 inches in diameter. Bella had scratches on her left buttocks from being shoved through this hole. A tuft of blonde hair was found on the edge of one of these hatches. The defendant told investigators that Bella's tank seemed emptier than CC's because of the sound that the splashes made. These were his daughters. Significantly, when his co-workers arrived at the tank battery later that morning, to a person, they all described him as acting completely normally. It was a normal workday, even while his daughters sank in the oil and water not far away from him. And then his efforts at deception truly began. We've all seen the emotionless interviews that the defendant gives to the local media, asking for help in locating his family. We watched as he claimed that the house was empty.
Why is he patting him? Why are you having sympathy for this man? Honestly, I don't know what's happening. Like, hello? Why are you having sympathy for a man who killed his wife, unborn son, and 2 little girls and threw them away like trash? I honestly don't know why he's trying to comfort him.
Without them, and that he hoped that they were somewhere safe, and that he just wanted them to come home. He told investigators that they were at home sleeping when he left for work that morning, and that Shanann had told him that she was taking the girls to a friend's house for the day. What is striking about this case, Your Honor, beyond the horrors that I've already described to you, is the number of collateral victims that he created by his actions. While he stood in front of TV cameras asking for the safe return of his family, scores of law enforcement officers, neighbors, friends, and family scoured the area, fretted for their safe return. They texted him begging for any information and sending him their best wishes, all the while he hid what he had done. The list of indirect victims does not end there. Think of the firefighters and the Colorado State Patrol hazmat experts who had to don protective suits and who were called upon to pull Bella and Celeste out of those oil tanks.
Yeah.
Or the coroner employees who had to conduct these autopsies. Or the victim assistants who frantically attempted to ease the suffering of those affected. All of this, Your Honor, for what? Why? Why did this have to happen? His motive was simple, Your Honor. He had a desire for a fresh start, to begin a relationship with a new love that overpowered all decency and feelings for his wife, his daughters, and unborn son. While Shanann texted the defendant over and over again in the days and weeks leading up to her death, attempting to save her marriage, the defendant secreted pictures of his girlfriend into his phone and texted her at all hours of the night. While Shanann sent the defendant self-help and relationship counseling books, one of which, ironically enough, was thrown in the garbage. He was searching the internet for secluded vacation spots to take his new love in researching jewelry. And while Shanann took the girls to visit family in North Carolina, the defendant went to car museums and the sand dunes with his new girlfriend. The stark contrast between the subjects of their internet and text content is absolutely stunning. Even the morning after he killed them and disposed of their bodies, he made several phone calls. One was to the school where the girls were supposed to start, telling the school that the girls would not be coming to school anymore, that they were being unenrolled, presumably to give him some more time before law enforcement notification about them going missing.
Yep.
He contacted a realtor to start discussing the selling of his house, and he texted with his girlfriend about their future. None of this answers the questions of why, however. If he was this happy and wanted a new start, get a divorce. You don't annihilate your family and throw them away like garbage. Why did Nico, Celeste, Bella, and Shanann have to lose their lives in order for him to get what he wanted. Your Honor, justice demands the maximum sentence under the agreement reached by the parties. As you will recall, the agreement calls for life sentences as to Shanann, Bella, and Celeste, and all of those to run consecutively to one another. It also calls for the count of unlawful termination of a pregnancy as to Nico to run consecutively to counts 1, 2, and 3. I would suggest that the extreme aggravation present in the defendant's conduct and in his the efforts that I have described mandate that the sentences for counts 7, 8, and 9, the tampering with a deceased human body, each be the maximum of 12 years, and that those sentences run consecutively to one another. It is very clear that each of these acts, that these were not the subject of one act, but each oil tank that he walked up with his daughter's bodies and the hole that he dug for his wife and unborn son mandate a mandatory consecutive sentence.
Now, the question will always be why? Why did 4 people, Shanann, Celeste, Bella, their unborn son Nico, have to lose their lives so Chris could get what he wanted? So Chris could live a new life with his newfound adoration of Nicole Kessinger. Why did so many lives have to be lost? Now, I find it very, very difficult to excuse Nicole of her involvement. She seems a little shady. Don't trust her. And the interviews speak for themselves. If you haven't seen the interviews, go be sure to check them out. One last thing before we close off here. In the Netflix film, it showed Shanann's dad talking to news reporters, and Shanann was apparently being slandered online, being called tons of different names, and ultimately being disrespected when she's dead. Where has humanity gone? This poor grieving family not only had to lose 4 loved ones, but also had to defend their daughter's honor from horrible people online. Just let them grieve. Keep your opinions to yourself. It doesn't matter what you think of them. They're gone. Let them rest. This was in the Netflix film. If you haven't seen that, it showed it at the very end that Shanann's dad was just crying because 1, he lost 4 loved ones, and 2, people were slandering his daughter on the internet. So I don't know how people could be so heartless when it comes to when someone is not here to defend themselves. This family went through hell. They're probably still recovering from it as well. And the last thing they needed was for people to go online and talk shit about their daughter. She was a great mother. She did everything she could for not only the kids, but to repair her relationship with Chris. But there was no talking to Chris. Chris made up his mind, and now he's paying for it. So that's going to wrap off the Chris Watts interviews, the Chris Watts story, the Chris Watts case. If there's anything else that you would want me to react to, be sure to comment down below. And if you have a certain video that you want me to react to, make sure to link it as well so I can find it easily. Also, drop a like down below if you did watch and enjoy this episode. Make sure, if you haven't already, to hit that subscribe button. We are now a Psych only channel. This channel will now only be covering Psych content. So if that's what you love and that's what you're into, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace!